Good morning and welcome to Daily Covfefe with Carter and Carrie on Unsafe Space. Today is Monday, August 26th. We thank you guys for joining us for the Daily Covfefe. If you like our podcast, please like, share, and subscribe.
I think that is everything, Carrie. I think you did it today.
I got it. I nailed it.
Yeah, you nailed it. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing? How's your weekend?
It was good. Yeah, I don't know. I stopped myself from buying some very expensive boots, so that was good.
Yeah, I guess it's good. I'm very excited to talk about the crisis that has been appearing in the news lately, because I think it's a great way to look at how the mainstream media just creates crises out of nothing. So have you seen, Carrie, all of these, the Amazon is burning, the Earth's lungs, they call it Earth's lungs are on fire. Have you seen any of these images?
No, I've been blessedly
articles?
away from the news for the most part for the weekend, but I don't know if we're going to agree on this because I don't think it's, well, tell me what's happening.
Well, I can tell you what's in the news.
Okay.
What's in the news is that Earth's lungs are on fire. What's in the news is stats that, like, Amazon's responsible for 20% of the oxygen on the planet. We're all going to die because the Amazon's on the fire. And also, it's the fault of the government of Brazil because they're not quite as left-leaning as we all want. And the stat they cite is, they say the Amazon rainforest is burning at a record rate. The Brazilian Amazon has experienced more than 74,000 fires this year, whereas last year's total was around 40,000. That's just pulled from a news article on it. And people are calling it an international crisis. So we're all supposed to get very, very upset about this. It's an international crisis. The reason you use the word crisis is because people will do things in a crisis that they wouldn't normally do. So that's the kind of mainstream narrative.
Okay, but why is that narrative wrong? I just now pulled up an article. It's hard to find news about this, by the way, because if you put in Amazon Fire, it brings up, do you want to buy the Amazon Fire Stick? No.
Yes, I noticed when I was researching this. So let's just check a couple things. First of all, does the Amazon rainforest actually produce 20% of the world's oxygen? No, kind of no. Kind of yes, kind of no. The answer is, yeah, it also consumes about 20% of the world's oxygen. So the Amazon, according to Richard Muller, professor of physics at UC Berkeley, he says the Amazon forest in the normal steady state is in a steady state where the amount it produces is about the amount it consumes. Oxygen produced by photosynthesis and consumed by decay balance each other out, basically. So he guesses that this 20% figure came from ecologists that have calculated that 20% of the photosynthesis in the world takes place in the Amazon basin, which is true, but so does about 20% of the consumption. According to just another thing that we've been hearing is like, oh, we need all the oxygen coming from the Amazon. Carlos Nobre, he's the National Secretary for Research and Development Policy in the Ministry of Science and Technology and Innovation of Brazil, says, quote, the Amazon does not change the oxygen balance much. It, for example, annually removes up to 2 billion tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, though, through photosynthesis, and it returns about 1.5 billion tons of oxygen to the atmosphere. But 1.5 billion tons of oxygen is a very small fraction. It's about 0.001% of the planet's oxygen. So right away, because these numbers are floating around, I started to question this. Like, why is this such a crisis? Right? No one wants rainforests to burn, but why is this suddenly a crisis? Well, they're saying that the number of fires is very big this year. It's telling to me that you can't actually find, at least I haven't been able to find, the actual area of fire, like area that's been destroyed compared to previous years. No one seems to be tracking area compared to previous years. They seem to be tracking number of fires, which is not the same thing. But even number of fires data, Carrie, I went to Brazil's National Institute for Space Research, which is responsible for looking at satellite imagery and compiling this data. Here's what I found. You can go get this data yourself.
Carter, I love you. You're such a nerd. You make me very happy.
So this is from 1998 to 2019.
No, just 1 second before you do that. People don't do this enough. They need to do this enough. They need to do this more often. Like, you read this stuff, this article, it's funny because everything you're saying is, I'm looking at this article, and it's the same, it's what you're saying. They're telling us about the number of fires has increased, but not the area. They're quoting that 20% fact, but nobody ever, I'm not going to say nobody, not enough people take the time to actually look for source material and to figure out if what you're being told is accurate or not. So anyway, go ahead. I meant to interrupt you, but I like that you did this.
I actually, and I failed to find what I really wanted, which was the square miles that have been consumed in 2019 versus previous years. And for some reason, they don't track that, which, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but that raises my ire a little bit because, 10 little brush fires are not equivalent to one massive devastating fire. And yet they would be counted 10 times as much as one massive fire because they're counting number of fires. Don't know why that is, but let's use their metric. So number of fires. Here's the chart I showed you again. This is, again, got this data from the INPE, Brazil's National Institute for Space Research. This is from 1998 all the way through 2019. The blue line is foci, which is like focus points, so numbers of fires basically that they're counting in Amazon per year. So you can see it was right around 30,000 in 1988. It peaked right around 2005 with 96,000. It's been up and down since then. Here's 85 in 2010. This is 87 in 2007. And here we are in 2019. Now, this is their data on their website on 2019, says 57,509. What's being reported in the news is this red dot, which is 72,000. So I don't know which to believe because this is what the official website says, and it's up to date. It has like literally within the last 48 hours numbers on the website. So, and that's this number, this 57,000 number. I don't know where the 75,000 number or 72,000 numbers, but let's assume that it's real and it came from someone. So maybe we're up here. So is it a lot of fire? Yes, it's a large number of fires. I don't know if it's a lot of fire per square mile. Is it the worst ever? No. Back here, who was president in 2010? I don't remember. But I'm sure it was his fault, whoever it was. So that's some data. The other thing, Carrie, that I looked at is, let's see. I wanted to know, okay, well, what about deforestation? Because this is one of the things that everyone is saying. It's all deforestation's the problem, right? Okay, so again, you can get this data from the same place. This is not my chart, but they have a nice chart, so I use their chart. It's the same data. This is deforestation. Now, this is area, I think square miles but here we are, 1998 up here. 2018 here. So deforestation kind of peaked around 95, went down. Then there was some more deforestation around 2004, and deforestation has actually declined. So again, I ask you, why are we in a crisis, Carrie? Why is this, oh my God, someone who's not a socialist completely is in charge in Brazil, and it's their fault. It's an international crisis. What's his face? Who's the douchebag who flies around in planes all the time? Leonardo DiCaprio, who flies around in private jets. He donated $5 million to solve the Amazon fire crisis. So that's all true. Also, I
feel bad for that guy, though. I do actually. What? I feel bad for that guy. He's
DiCaprio?
Yes, he's one of those child actors who you just know was probably, he worked with that pedophile, Brian, what's his name?
Oh, he did?
Yeah, let me look it up. The one who's still employed even after being convicted. But also his manager, his publicist, all of them were pedophiles. and he had a single mom. I mean, he's one of those kids who I just feel like there's a lot of kids in Hollywood who were interfered with, and he seems like someone who's, Brian Peck. Brian Peck. There's like really creepy videos with him and Brian Peck on set, and the way they're interacting is just gross. Brian Peck was later convicted and of child molestation, and is still working in Hollywood. Anyway, I'm sorry I took us in a wrong direction.
No. I mean, I think Hollywood's maybe the crisis is in Hollywood.
Yeah. Hey, there's a crisis, guys.
There is a crisis. It's just not in Brazil.
Yeah.
So one more reminder, though, Carrie. So here's all the other things. The other thing that you will never really hear from the mainstream media is, just as a reminder, the rising CO2 levels, which are real. We're not science deniers, leftists. The rising CO2 levels on the Earth have produced greening. Yay! CO2 is plant food. The Earth is getting greener. Here's a presentation by NASA. It's from 2 years ago. I'm not going to play it, but there's lots of this. You can look up Earth greening. The Earth is actually greening, despite the fact that, yes, the Amazon is slowly getting smaller. The Earth itself is greening. So here we are. Here's what I see. I see this big crisis. Oh my God, 20%. The Earth's, what do they call the Earth's lungs are burning. Goddamn Republicans. The Earth's lungs are burning. We're going to lose the Amazon. It's all your fault. It's a crisis. Yeah, it's a bad fire year in the Amazon. Not the worst ever. And the Amazon is not the Earth's lungs. So
I have something. You're making me think of something. Can I share this article?
Yeah, please.
This is something I read over the weekend. It's a little old, but not that old. It's an article. So my friend Ben shared this. Thank you, Ben. And I thought it was fascinating. It's an article by Steven Pinker. The media exaggerates negative news. This distortion has consequences.
You think? Huey Lewis knew that, Steven.
Right.
It's interesting when people die. Give us dirty laundry.
Whether or not the world really is getting worse, the nature of news will make us think it is. So there's this one part. Hold on. News is about things that happen, not things that don't happen. We never see a journalist saying to the camera, "I'm reporting live from a country where a war has not broken out."
Right.
Or a city that has not been bombed, or a school that has not been shot up. As long as bad things have not vanished from the face of the earth, there will always be enough incidents to fill the news, especially when billions of smartphones turn most of the world's population into crime reporters and war correspondents. I mean, think about all the cherry-picked news stories that get pushed out there. And actually, Ben posted this because he was also sharing an article, a very recent article from the Washington Post, surprisingly, that said what you and I know, which we've talked about before, which is that gun homicides and gun crime is way down since the 90s.
Right.
But the media wouldn't have you believe that. You would believe the opposite. And so anyway, I thought this article is like a psychological explanation for why we focus on negative things instead of positive things. And so although the world is getting better in a multitude of ways, we are more likely to think it's getting worse.
Yep.
Anyway.
And I think you're pointing out that the gun violence it follows the similar thing, right? We see some school shootings, not good, obviously, tragic. We hate it, but it's presented as a crisis. It's
presented as a crisis, and it's not. But actually, it's like they're creating a crisis.
They may create one. Yes.
Yeah, they may create one because they blow it out of proportion and they focus on it. So anyway.
Well, Carrie, I wanted to. Can I bring up I don't know why these are related. I don't know why I felt they were related. I've tried to draw some connections intellectually after I felt that these things were related. But the Amazon fire thing was an interesting, is interesting to me, juxtaposed with all of this stuff in the news lately that I've seen, and I don't know if you've seen it, about eating bugs, about how we should all eat more bugs.
Carter, we're watching different news. I don't know what you're talking about.
So look, so here's a little video by AJ Plus. What's the psychology behind why we find eating bugs so disgusting? And they interview this guy who cooks bugs. They show you how bugs are great. Here we go. Move over kale. Insects are the new superfood. Here's Fast Company. Is eating bugs any morally different than eating cows? The Sun grubs up. Eating insects could aid weight loss, and bug crisps are now sold. And Sainsbury's. Let's see. BBC. Eating insects. Should we be eating more? Why are they so good, Carrie? Why are insects so great? Could eating insects make for a healthier diet? So I immediately asked, like, what the hell's going on? Why are they?
Isn't
What?
there some celebrity who's also selling bug products, or I can't remember. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a lot of like faux meat things now that are like mealworms are replacing actual meat.
Oh, that is disgusting.
Yeah.
I've seen mealworms. I've fed them to primates before. Can't imagine eating them myself. Go ahead.
Well, you're a primate, Carrie. And don't worry, not to be outdone, Newsweek has another question that's, I think, probably been burning on your mind, Carrie. Cannibalism is common in the animal kingdom. Here's why, for humans, it's the ultimate taboo. It's just a taboo, Carrie. Granted, it's an opinion piece, but, you know.
Newsweek.
They gave space to this Newsweek. Thank you. So, yeah, it's just a taboo. Just like I'm sure that they would argue pedophilia. Also, just a taboo. Just, you know, eating people. Just taboo. You know, just your bugs. Eat your bugs. Shut up and eat your bugs.
Wow.
And your neighbor. So
gross.
Carrie, why do you think this is? Why are they pushing Amazon Fire Crisis? I think it's related. I think the bugs and Amazon are related. But why are they pushing these things?
Wait, why do you think it's related?
I think this is part of a generalized war on the West, specifically men, but the West generally. And I think, first of all, you need crises. We talked, you had the Steven Pinker article, right? Crises, the cathedral needs crises because people will they'll act against their own common sense and against their own self-interest if they can get rallied enough for a crisis. This is why they love war, right? Oh my God, the boogeyman are coming. You have to like drop everything, make sacrifices, go to war, right? So and it occurred to me that like,
by the way, I think we're going to end up, do you think we're going to end up in war with Iran very soon? I've heard people talk about this, no matter who wins, except for Tulsi Gabbard, which is why they will not allow Tulsi to win.
I don't know that Trump wants to go to war. I mean, his advisors do.
But he will.
You think he will?
I think he will.
I hope not. But oddly enough, I've been getting spam calls from Iran this morning on my phone. I don't know. I haven't answered them, but maybe they're trying to coordinate an attack. But,
okay, sorry. Back to your blinking the bugs and the fires.
Well, so they want crises, and I thought about it for a second. I realized the Earth dying is the ultimate crisis. This is why never in our lifetimes or in our children's lifetimes or in our grandchildren's lifetimes will the Earth not ever be viewed as in a crisis, because saying the Earth is in a crisis it meets all of the requirements of the cathedral. Like there's nothing. It's like literally you have to do something. We only have the Earth. It's not like we've got a planetary system and they're like, yeah, the Earth over there is in crisis. We should, work on that. This is it. This is all we've got. And so when the massive ice age of the climate alarmists didn't happen and was proven wrong, they switched to global warming. When that started to fall out of favor because they couldn't really explain why their models didn't work, they switched to climate change, which is a nice vague term. And do humans have an impact on the environment? Absolutely. But the catastrophic hysteria. I mean, there were articles a couple weeks ago. Do you remember saying someone was sharing articles that were like, if we don't do something in 18 months, we got 18 months left to go before the sky is falling, the Earth is going to, digest humans. I don't know. No,
but I did see some funny memes this weekend about with the Obamas just bought a $15 million mansion in Martha's Vineyard, and it was a meme. And it was a meme that said, the East Coast is going to be underwater in 11 years. let's spend $15 million on Imagine on the East Coast.
Right. They don't believe their own bullshit, right? They don't believe it. Because if they did, they wouldn't buy on Martha's Vineyard. They would be buying inland up a little bit, expecting to be coastal soon, right? If they actually believed what they are trying to get us riled up about. So they want us to get us, the earth dying it's like the best crisis for them. And so I think they're going to keep pushing it. And I think one of the things it does is it distracts us from real threats, because there are real threats, right? Socialism is a real threat to U.S. way of life and lives, and authoritarianism is a real threat, especially in the age of technology. By the way, did you see the Hong Kong protests? I know, another tangent. Did you see the Hong Kong protesters? One of the things they did this weekend? Brilliant. Awesome. They were cutting down the towers that had the facial recognition cameras.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
That's cool.
So they were just like, it's non-violent, and it's like they're not hurting people doing that. They're just pulling down the facial recognition towers, which I think is great.
I love that Babylon Bee piece. It's like, can we trade Antifa for the Hong Kong protesters?
Right.
Well, okay.
But this, so it's distracting us from these things.
It's distracting us, but how is this bug thing related? Why do you think that's related at all? Why are they pushing eating bugs in your mind?
Yeah, well, I think it's related predominantly, and this is a hypothesis, so it could be Swiss cheese. I don't know, but there's a clear war on masculinity and men, and we've talked about it. In the West, Gillette had their woke ads, which they've tried to help distract us with new ads about heroes now. But there's a war on masculinity, and we've talked about how boys are viewed as broken girls. We talked about the APA guidelines. We talked with Tom Golden about this. Switching to like a vegetarian or bug-based diet does lower testosterone levels. And you can also have problems if you eat like too much meat, but like meat in your diet increases your testosterone levels. And I think that part of what they want, so when testosterone is also linked to like aggression, right? Willingness to, stand up against threats, right? So I think what they want is a lower T population. And one of the ways to get because they, fighting the climate change doesn't require a lot of testosterone. It just requires like obeying your leaders about your hybrid and, getting your little Tesla. But standing up to socialism and authoritarianism and like actually fighting the war against the West does require testosterone. And I think part of this is like, let's try and push a diet that generally just turns everyone into soy boys.
Well, and testosterone levels have already declined significantly. What are the stats? I can't remember. It's something.
I think it's 1% a year or something ridiculous.
1% a year. And if you compare the testosterone levels of men today to men from 1960, what is it, like 20 percentage points off?
It's something ridiculous. There were those leftist reporters who were in probably their 20s or early 30s who did it, and they had T levels of like 80-year-old men or something.
Oh yeah, the BuzzFeed reporters. They did their. I saw that, and they were like, they thought it was like funny. Anyway.
Yeah. I think this is also why they love trans, because male to female trans basically emasculates men, right? It directly combats their testosterone levels. Female to male trans, they're never going to get male testosterone levels. They're just replacing men with women. So with biological women. So I think that's one of the reasons they love trans as well, because it's a great way to destroy. It destroys femininity also, by the way, but it's a great way to destroy masculinity also. They want this kind of low T androgynous hybrid between male and female. That's the ideal globalist creature. And so, I think they want globalism. They want a docile populace, and they don't like this idea of rugged individualism and people fighting off socialism and like a free society. That's all stuff they hate. They want globalism. They don't want America to be strong and free by itself. So I think part of this is, and I don't think this is like sitting around in a smoky room saying, hey, let's get them to eat bugs. I think it's just when when agendas serendipitously align, I think there's a natural tendency to kind of push the stuff, and I think they just feel it. It feels good. They virtue signal, right? They're already been, a lot of these people reporting this kind of stuff have already been convinced, like, oh, veganism is the way to go, or it's morally superior, or whatever. So pushing bugs is like an easy thing. It's an easy thing to do. And notice they don't push bugs on populations that already eat bugs. They don't go into the areas. And by the way, it's not common even in places where you think it's common. Like, it's not like everyone in China eats bugs. It's a rare thing. But they don't go to the places where people do eat bugs and push bugs. They push meat, because meat is very high calorie. It's an efficient, high calorie delivery system. It's great for feeding the population. Meat is awesome. So like they get people out of poverty by helping them get access to meat. But in the West, they're trying to create a bunch of soy boys.
Yeah.
That's my Alex Jones-like conspiracy theory for the day.
Well, and since you said the Alex Jones name, we're going to be demonetized. This video has no chance.
Oh, this video never had a chance, Carrie. There's facts about the Amazon in it. There's no way this would ever get monetized.
Well,
anyway, am I crazy? I know that sounds crazy, but I'm trying to think a little bit more deeply about what the hell's going on here and how things are aligned.
It absolutely sounds crazy to anyone who's just tuning in and who doesn't understand. Okay, look, a lot of the people that you talk to on any given day have bought into the narratives. So even talking about Marxism, that sounds crazy to them. So, and you're just putting out a hypothesis. A lot of times people, there's this people make this accusation of conspiracy theorists about people who sometimes are simply asking questions or making a hypothesis, but they don't use that term when it's the mainstream media doing it and programming us to believe in stuff like Russian collusion, which is a total conspiracy theory. And if you believe it, sorry, you've been brainwashed. But
randomly, did you see the Brian Stetzer thing over the weekend? Stetler? I always say Stetzer. Brian Stetzer was...
Oh, yeah. Well, was it the thing about Trump's mental health?
Yeah, but also he had a guest on that said that Trump is responsible or will be responsible for killing more people than Mao and Hitler and Stalin. Maybe he just said Stalin and Hitler. He had Stalin in there and Hitler both.
That's insane.
And the CNN host Brian Stetler, I keep saying Stetzer, but Stetler, did not challenge it at all. He was just like, continued with the conversation about like, what he challenged was the guys, because the guy was also making the point that we shouldn't say that Trump is mentally ill because it's an insult to mentally ill people. That was his argument. And so Brian was like, no, we should be able to armchair diagnose him. So that's the part he responded to. He didn't say anything about, more people than Hitler and Stalin.
Yeah, well, that guy, Brian Stelter, is he's low IQ. He's not very bright. And there's a really funny, if you guys haven't watched any Mark Dice on YouTube, look up Mark Dice and Brian Stelter, because he does this really hilarious where he takes clips of Brian and just edits them all together, and then he replaces his voice he says exactly what Brian is saying, but he mimics his voice in this. I don't know why I find it so funny, but it's hilarious. Anyway.
We'll put a link to it.
Put a link to it. Yeah.
We'll put a bird on it. So, Carrie?
This has been a rambly but fun morning kafefe, afternoon kafefe, and we thank you guys for joining us. And in the comments, let Carter know how crazy he sounds about bugs. And I'm kidding.
You know what? I don't want to eat bugs. Sorry.
Don't. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to become a financial donor, you can do so. You can donate. We don't have a Patreon, but we have a Subscribe Star, and we have merchandise on our website, unsafespace.com. We have merchandise.
Oh yeah, you can go to merch unsafespace.com, and if you do Subscribe Star, just message us when you subscribe, telling us what you want your name to be in the credits, so we can use a pseudonym if that's what you want. And also, when's book club, Carrie?
Oh, so book club date, we've had to extend it. We're giving you guys an extra week to finish reading George Orwell's 1984 because of work conflicts. But so September 15th is our new date, and I'll be posting it, and we'll do a little video advertising book club so people can share it if you want people that you know to join us in discussing the book. So video book club discussion, Sunday, September 15th. Sunday, September 15th. Thank you, guys.